Hello to the vlog. So to start off, just finished off a long day of lecture and I am feeling like I need to get outside, get some fresh air, get some exercise, go for maybe a little hike. So I'm going to fill up my water bottle and then we're going to head out. All right, so we have arrived at our destination, which is Cumberland Gap National Park, because why go anywhere else if you live 10 minutes away from a national park? So I'm getting my hiking boots on. I wore my Cumberland Gap National Park t-shirt that I got from a booth at Mountain Fiesta. So shout out to Mr. Green. Putting my boots on, I've got my water, I've got my bear spray just in case. My plan for this is to just walk you through a couple days in the life and just talk about past Regan before she started vet school, and then future Regan, and then also some advice for future vet students. So here we go. And here we are on our hike. To start off, first thing would be talking about if I had to go back and do this transition into vet school over again, telling past self what to do, what would I say? And I have a couple parts to it. First would be, don't compare yourself to others, because what works best for you might not work best for someone else and vice versa. So do what works best for you and stick with that. And that kind of goes with kind of all facets. So like study habits, workout habits, eating habits, everything. Do what works best for you and don't compare yourself to everyone else. The other things I would say would be, there's a lot of opinions that are thrown at you as an incoming vet student from doctors that you work with, and that could be good or bad, but in my experience, I would say they more so erred on the side of warning me about the negative aspects of vet school and not necessarily all of the positives, which, you know, is a good thing to be prepared to know that it's not going to be easy. But I would say with all of those opinions, take them with a grain of salt, because everyone's experience is their own experience. So make yours your own and don't focus on, well, this is how it should go for me. Just work at it as best as you can and go with the flow. I am back from my hike and I have heated up my dinner. I want to talk about what has helped me the most so far in vet school, and there's a lot to this question as well. The first thing I would say would be having balance in my life, so not letting my studying take over. I definitely prioritize going for a hike and getting outside if I need to, going to the gym. I really like weightlifting, so I do that about 3 times a week. Another part of it is prioritizing my nutrition. So I cook all of my own food. Usually on Sundays is my meal prep day, so I go grocery shopping, cook all of my food for the week, and then everything's ready to go. It's also kind of pushed me to go out and go to the farmers markets, find little local, shops in the area for produce and for meat. I've gone to a couple of different butcher shops, gone to like Harrogate Plant and Produce, which has been awesome. Another thing would be always keeping an open mind, meeting new people, meeting new friends. And then the last thing I would say would be I made my house my home. So that has just made me feel very comforted and made the transition super easy, just knowing that I do have a safe place to go back to. For me personally, I love Christmas. And so making my house my home, to me, it looks like decorating Christmas just a few days before Halloween. Beautiful Christmas tree up. So yeah, that can look different for many different people, but make your place feel like home. And yeah, I think those things have definitely put me in a good spot so far. Good morning. Our next question is, how would you define your success of this academic transition? For me, it would be looking at my starting point, recognizing my study habits, if they have changed, if they've improved. For me, they have. I had to change my study habits from what I used in undergrad because that just was not going to work here. I would say you could definitely look at, your letter grades, your individual scores on exams. One other thing is kind of recognizing the progress like while you're studying. So for me, like for physiology, I've been reading the textbook and making notes from the text onto my PowerPoint slides. And I can definitely notice a difference of just understanding the material as I'm going through it better than I did at the beginning of the semester. Kind of little things that you notice here and there, and just kind of comparing current self, my current habits to me at the beginning of the semester, seeing that growth. All right, so here we are back. Had a quick meeting this morning, came back, and now I am going to be working on physiology. This question is kind of talking about what advice would you give to an incoming cohort? First, just be yourself, and you always tend to attract people with similar values to you. And then along the lines of being open to new techniques if yours aren't working anymore. So at the beginning of the semester, my study habits were not going to work. So I ended up going on YouTube and finding a girl who was in vet school. She just graduated this spring and is now a practicing vet in Canada. And the things that I was doing at the beginning of the semester was actually exactly what she told me not to do. See what works best for you and stick with it. Last thing, doing little bits of studying each day. Doing little bits each day that will definitely help you in the long run, especially when you get to the last week before the exam. You're actually able to review the material, do some practice questions, meet with other people if that works for you, kind of quiz each other. But yeah, those would be my tips for incoming cohorts. So it is a couple hours later. So our next question is, what do you wish someone had told you but didn't? One thing that I kind of had talked about earlier was that a lot of people in the field before you come to vet school kind of tend to tell you more about the negative sides of vet school, that things are very stressful and you're going to be super busy. And while those things are true, I do kind of wish there were things that they had talked about that it can really be the best years of your life if you make it that way. And along those lines, like, I am loving where I'm at right now. When I wasn't in school, I actually missed having to go to like a library or a coffee shop to go study. So I'm loving what we're learning, what we're doing. And, I'm in a beautiful place, 10 minutes away from a national park, meeting some really cool people. The next question, we've got add one topic to this course that has not been covered and explain the rationale for your choice. So this was something that has been briefly covered. I would make more of a point during lecture time to sit down and do like full meditations, especially because a lot of these classes are scheduled either right at the beginning or right at the end of a long lecture day. So especially at the end of a long lecture day, our brains are kind of fried. I would say it would just be nice to take, 20 or 30 minutes just to like reconnect with yourself, reconnect with your surroundings, just kind of reset your brain, and then go on with the rest of your day. Change of scenery. So we are at Harrogate City Park. We just went for a 2-mile run. Next question to answer is looking towards the future. So what challenges will I anticipate for the spring and how will I face them? Each course has its own challenges. Each class is very different and each one requires different study habits. I will face them as it comes, so just taking one day at a time, just figuring out what works best for me as time goes on, and not overthinking too much, not trying to procrastinate, so doing little bits every day, and that'll be how I get through the spring. It is the next day. Now I'm here with Forrest Gump on in the background and my newest favorite book. But our next question is, what resources will you use in the future? Definitely looking at a lot of my peers, whether that be peers in my class, upperclassmen that have already taken the course, TAs, liaisons are asking the professors themselves. There's also support staff. They are always there. Also can lean on my family and friends back home. They can give an outside perspective on any situation. Definitely something that can be very useful. And then next question is, how will you self-regulate your learning and build academic resilience? Number one would be take each grade as it comes. So if it's a good grade, recognizing that it's a good grade, being proud of that, recognizing the things that I did to get that good grade. From the grades that maybe weren't as great, learning from those and seeing what things in my studying did not work. And then lastly, giving myself reasonable grace. So I think it's definitely good to give yourself grace in certain situations because we're not perfect. We do make mistakes, and just recognizing those and learning from them is definitely something that will help me build academic resilience. So today is Saturday and the last day of this vlog. I'm at the CVM in a study room, again, back with my favorite book. But next question is, how will you monitor your learning, behavior, and motivation? So for my learning, you can kind of feel your understanding of the material as you progress. You can also look at numerical scores. How will I monitor my behavior? So reflecting each night on that day and just seeing if there is anything that I feel I could have done better, and then make those changes the next day. And then as far as motivation goes, I won't push myself past my boundaries, avoiding burnout, taking breaks when I need it. Occasionally, I might just have to push myself to get something done, and that's okay. And lastly, just knowing that this is where I'm meant to be, and this is what I've always wanted to do, and these are the steps that I have to take in order to get there.
Here's our final installment of the vlog. I am obviously out of the house. Here's my date, Anastasia. Going over the last question that we have would be, how will you address any emotions? So for me, it would be just letting myself feel the emotions. So the last thing that I will do will be to journal, and that will let me just get all of my emotions and get everything that's in my brain out on paper, and then you just feel a lot of relief. So thank you to whoever watched this vlog, and if I do end up watching this again in the future, congratulations to future Regan for becoming a vet, and I'm really proud of you. Bye.